Just checking, everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
And the
great.
video's played and it's recording.
Awesome. Alrighty.
Oh my gosh, so, yeah, she said we'll get an Xbox download. Oh yeah, and we just need to connect.
Yeah. I got my Connect off eBay. I think it was, no, oh, actually, I had one donated, but I had to leave it at my old school. So I bought the second one on eBay.
I'm so glad you told me that. I'm taking that GIS class right now. All those people are just jealous of it.
I'm taking an AI class right now through ISTE. And,
Yeah, so this is through ISTE through ESRI. ISTE through ESRI.
This one is through General Motors.
Okay.
General Motors grant. And so I don't know what they did with my Robin thing. I don't know if I posted it or not. I saw this robot called Robin yesterday that the kids can program with block coding. I want one. I want one so bad. Because I can leave it and tell it, give them directions in the makerspace while I have to go check books out.
No.
Can you hardwire? Because I'm hardwired.
Right.
Hardwire.
Yeah, that's through Best Bet.
I want to apologize before you start. I present next, so I'm going to stick it out a little bit before you're done. So I just didn't want you to think I
No
was
problem, and
being
Dennis
rude.
is after me, so he's gonna be able to come, I'm gonna try to be, split out of here so he can set up.
You are good. So,
What are you presenting?
I'm presenting over in Garden Terrace West
And what?
on coding and robotics.
Oh, okay.
So,
I might be coming to that.
I'll be there.
Did you see the Robin? Were you at PCI yesterday?
I wasn't.
Only because I 2 years after I was able to see it come out. I didn't make any time for all the
Really? And she, it was a picture and they had autistic support to show picture pictures. She said, wow.
So is it like,
She only cost $10,000.
I was going to say, that's always the catch, right? Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no problem.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to 3D Printing and Personal Branding for Students. Just a few things before we begin. Please turn your cell phone ringers off. Fire regulations require that all session attendees have a chair. There's no standing in aisles or sitting on the floor. Please do not use chairs for your belongings if others are looking for a place to sit. If you are plugging devices into wall outlets, keep in mind that people may be moving around during the session. Your devices may be damaged if someone runs into the cords. So this is P&C saying and Act 48 will still be available at P&C as has been offered in the past. However, no codes will be distributed this year. You'll be able to submit your Act 48 credit online via the evaluation process. You can find the links in the Attendee Service Center on the P&C webpage, and I also have a QR code if you want to do it right after the session today. And now I present to you Janice Conger.
Hi there. Well, thank you. Nobody's clapped for me before. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just a librarian. I don't know if any of your librarians have said that to you before, but the job of the librarian has changed so much in the last 10 years that nobody is just a librarian anymore. And if you want to leverage whatever technology is in your building, collaborate with your librarian, because usually they are the ones that have the latest and the greatest ideas, because they can see the big picture. You may, if you're a classroom teacher, you may only see your content area, but the librarian has the whole picture for the whole building in their mind, okay? So I am a librarian at Wissahickon Middle School, but for 14 years I taught K to 5 in the Methacton School District as a librarian where I had fixed classes. The difference now is I do not have the fixed classes. I have time to collaborate with teachers, and they come into the makerspace that we have created, and they do different kinds of lessons. I do coding lessons, I do lessons on circuitry, but so for me this is new because I've never been 6, 7, 8 before, and we recently were awarded a grant for a 3D printer, and I had ideas of what I wanted to do with the 3D printer, but I didn't want it to be the end-all and be-all. So we have very, very strict rules. And before you leave here today, I'm hoping that you'll have an idea about how Digital Citizen plays a role in your 3D printing and your personal branding. You'll know what personal branding is. You'll know how to go about creating a personal branding statement and a 3D logo, and you'll be able to recreate this because all of my student work and everything is available through this PowerPoint. Okay? This is the 3D printer that we got the grant for, and it is a MakerBot replicator. I also won a grant through PASCD. They give out small grants $250 to $500, and I purchased this micro 3D printer with the grant that I received from them. So nothing has, I didn't pay for this. Now my budget is paying for the filament and other things. But the 3D printing is not the end all and be all, it's the carrot. Kids love the idea of 3D printing something. So personal branding is the stick that I use, and digital citizenship is the vehicle. Now, I'm not saying that you have to teach digital citizenship in your makerspace or in your library. We have a special class called iSkills, where they go through common sense media and different levels, and I'm going to show you some of the different things. But digital citizenship is the whole point of this. You want kids to be positive. You don't want them to let Google define you. And when we start this lesson, the first thing they do is Google themselves. Now, I have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. When they Google themselves, even if they're not online, they find pictures of themselves, and they are flabbergasted because their tennis coach posted pictures. One kid's mom had a blog and he had no idea, and pictures of him were all over the place. He was like devastated at first, and then as we went on through this personal branding lesson, he was like, "So my mom's doing a good thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, she is. She's getting you out there. You have to put your brand out there before Google will define who you are. You have to let yourself be known. Your personal brand and your digital footprint are your most important thing." And the number one thing that I tell kids is you cannot have one negative self-image in your personal brand. Everything has to be positive. And that's my B+. And in the makerspace, I have B+ signs all over the place. Okay, well, why digital citizenship? I don't know if you've seen this Barack Obama video. Hold on for a second, I have it queued up here.
It got me thinking about my full-time employees and their ability to survive on $8 an hour in New York City. And foremost in all of our minds has been the loss and the grief felt by the people of Orlando.
Okay.
Most of us don't get our health care through the marketplace.
They have
We get
a
it through our
video
job,
out there
or through Medicare
of
or
Barack
Medicaid.
Obama
And what you should know is that thanks to the Affordable Care Act,
tearing down Donald Trump. And then at the end it says, of course you know I wouldn't say that. We know that Barack Obama would not have said that kind of thing in public because we know what we know what Barack Obama's personal brand is. Okay? Sorry. We know him so well that we wouldn't expect him to say things like that. So your digital footprint, your personal brand, has to be so ironclad that people know immediately sorry, if somebody is faking it. Okay, I'm not the only one that says this. ISTE wants you to use technology responsibly. All these resources are there for you. Sorry about that. They're there for you to use. All the links are available. And ISTE suggests that you embed personal branding and digital citizenship into your lessons. And that's sort of what I've done. There are a lot, sorry, there are a lot of digital citizenship tools out there. Oh, thank you. Thanks. great ones for younger kids, and they just came out with a 6 to 8 component in the last 6 to 8 months. Is Common Sense Media with their digital passport. If you haven't tried to look into that, they even have an educator learning process, so you can learn to become a Common Sense digital educator. One of the things that I do with my students all the time is Breakout EDU. I've created 3 different breakouts just for this year, not counting the ones I've done last year. And I'm about to make another one on digital citizenship. I use this as a supplement in the makerspace. These are all ones that you can use. The links are available. They're all free digital ones. Google has the Internet Awesome Interland. I don't know if anybody has done that. It's aligned with the ISTE standards, which I think is very important. For older kids, there is Google for Education, but Google has so many different classes that you can take to learn how to do different things. They even have started their own there's a whole thing on artificial intelligence that you can actually take their lessons and learn how to make chatbots and things like that. This one was a new one to me. It's done by the Department of Justice. It's great for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. The 6th grade one was a little bit young for my kids, so we don't use this, but I thought that for the younger grades it was very good. Discovery Education was how I started all this. I went and looked way back in the early 2000s. They had a lot of different videos on how to be a good digital citizen, and these are just a few of them that I found that if you have a Discovery account, you can use these. I promised them that I would plug these, so take it with a grain of salt. Now this is what we use in our school. We use Everfi Ignition. There are 7 different lessons, and Everfi is free, and it's provided by the NHL, the National Hockey League. So what we teach the kids when they're going through their Everfi, it's like the Google one that has different islands, but this has different types of lessons, and it's better for my age level, for 6 to 8. So one of the things that it teaches them is to craft online identities. So what I tell them is that they have to, it goes from choosing a computer to wireless communication. It talks about the viral world. It talks about creating multimedia products, because we do a lot of creation of multimedia products in our school district. It talks about digital relationships and respect, and that was one of the main things we wanted to incorporate through the Be Positive movement. And there's one that's called The Future of Technology and You. And the whole idea is to craft the narrative of your life so that you are having a positive image out there. These are some of the logos. I'm not sure I have all of these up here, but when I was doing this lesson the first time, I had 32 classes, and I had to keep them all separated so that the kids could pick them up the next time they came to the library. So this is how I kind of like separated them out. Okay, so Wikipedia says that personal branding is how people market themselves. Now you hear personal branding in entrepreneurship and in small business all the time, but the idea I'm trying to get into kids' heads is that they have to define who they are before a Google search tells them who they are. Kids don't like to do that. In the past, we had different self-help management techniques, and it was all about how you would improve yourself. But now, personal branding says you're okay. You just as you are, you're fine, and success will come from self-packaging. So personal branding means how people are going to remember you. How are people going to remember you in person? How are they going to remember you online? You're the one that has to dictate the narrative of your life. Now, I took a look at Google Trends, and if you haven't tried Google Trends, this is like one of my new favorite things. In the past year, personal branding has risen and fallen and risen, okay? This is the past year worldwide and the past year in the United States. And now it is again on an upward trend, okay? Google Trends tracks trends for you, but also it gives you who is looking for this term personal branding in the whole state, and then each individual state. But not only that, Google Trends also will give you related topics and then give you different search terms. So if you're doing a project with your kids and they don't know keywords, I'm finding that this is very helpful to help them get some keywords. So just if you Google Trends, I think there's a link on there too. Notice when you scroll down here, the information by states comes up, and I thought it was interesting that Pennsylvania was sort of one of the light blue states. When kids need to narrow their search terms or whatever, this can help them do that. All right. So I start out by showing the kids this video by Roberto Blake. I'm not going to show the whole thing to you, but he's a Googler that a YouTuber that the kids know.
Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of RobertoBlake.com, helping you create something awesome today. So today we're going to talk about what is a personal brand. Personal brand is becoming a buzzword, which really annoys me because it's too important to be a buzzword. You've probably heard it all over social media and even in mainstream media lately. But it is important. I'm going to talk to you about why and help you understand and wrap your head around this crazy thing we call a personal brand. Ultimately, your personal brand comes down to your reputation. It comes down to what you're known for and, who you're known as. What do you actually do and what do you mean to people? That's what your personal brand is. This isn't really hard to figure out considering that we see brands, even though they're companies, we identify them in this way all the time. There are words that you associate with Apple, and some of you really feel very passionately and strongly about that as a brand, and if anybody says anything negative, you're the first to defend them. Guess what? Apple did a great job with their branding. So, if someone were to say something negative about you, how are people going to defend you, and what are they going to say about you, and what are the odds that someone's going to say something negative about you? Do you have a good reputation or a bad one? What was that reputation built off of? What value do you create, and what do people associate you with? A lot of you have told me that you find me to...
Okay. So, it's Roberto Blake that came up with dictate the narrative. So it's not my word, those are his. And the kids relate to him. In my district, I didn't always use this video first, but in my new district, I use this because they relate to him.
Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of RobertoBlake.com, helping you create something awesome today. So today, we're going to talk about what is a personal brand.
Sorry. Okay, so basically he says your reputation matters. You have a personal brand whether you know you do or not. You're going to dictate the narrative, you're going to tell people who you are, and you're going to define who you are before Google does. And what kids have a hard time with is They don't believe that they have a value right now, but they do. The second video this video, I'm not going to play this one, but this was actually a TED Talk, and this lady actually worked with the University of Iowa, and you can watch this video later. I don't use this with kids. I use this just for myself to learn, because what she says is, through a personal brand, you can lead more, win more, and earn more. I don't want to give that message to the kids yet, but she talks about self-awareness. Kids are not self-aware yet, so she says that telling your story in an attention-getting way, a relevant way, in a way that is memorable, and the way that I just use this as an outline for them. And this is the one that we namely go with. And especially in my new position, I don't have the full classes. I don't have the 30 classes. I only see kids maybe once or twice. So this is where we boil our personal brand down to 6 words. This is Amanda Rose. Come on!
You are watching the Amanda Rose TV, an insider's guide to an honest, happy and successful business and life. Who are you? What is your brand? I'm going to share with you 5 steps to finding your personal brand. Now, the term brand is frequently used these days, although people think of a logo. A brand is more than a logo. In fact, you are a brand, and the most important one at that. When your name or business name is mentioned, what do people think and feel? You know, when they're gossiping about you, is it positive or negative? That is what your brand is projecting. Everything you do, think, feel, say, everything you want to do is part of brand you. Now, working it out is very important, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to take you through 5 steps, fun steps to do it. Number 1, your values. What are your values? What is at your core? Is it your faith, your family? Be honest. This is the foundation for your brand. Number 2 is your attitude. Look at your attitude. Do you have an attitude problem? Are you a glass half empty kind of person? Oh, nothing ever works out for me. Or glass half full kind of person? If something's making you unhappy or affecting your attitude, get rid of it. Fix your attitude or remove yourself from that environment, because your attitude will determine whether people want to deal with you or not. They won't tell you, they just won't deal with you. So check it on a regular basis. Number 3 is passion. Absolutely love passion. If you could do anything in this world, what would it be? Do you want to be a rock star? You know, do you want to be a CEO? Whatever it is, feel free to be honest. Whatever your passion is, you need to be working for it. This is going to help you in the dark times, you know, when things aren't working out, when you get shafted. And people will gravitate towards you as a result. Number 4 is your purpose. Often people don't like to admit what they want to be when they grow up. What do you want to be in 5 to 10 years from now? Again, be honest. It isn't set in stone. You can change it next week if you want to. A purpose will help you make decisions today that will set you up for the future. Now, this is the real fun stuff. Number 5 is, what are your 6 words? Ask your friends and family to list some words that describe you. At the same time, create a list yourself. And this can be anything. Don't feel the need to conform. What do you really think of yourself? Now, these words are going to be used in your language, in your blog posts, in your marketing. They're you. These are the words that people think of when they hear your name or your business name. And don't worry if you don't like them. Work on yourself to change the words that describe you. They're not permanent. Like life, they evolve and they change as you do. I know, I can hear, what are your 6 words? Well, here they are. Passionate, honest, fun, determined, leader, and fitness, of course. Put all the above together, all those points, and that is the core of who you are and your brand. This is you and everything you do, everything you say, everything you think of. Now, I would... Come on!
So, I had to change her things a little bit, because when I did this the first time, I just showed the video to the kids, and I said, now come up with 6 words to describe you. I got blank. So So her things were, what are your values, check your attitude, what's your passion, what's your purpose, and then your 6 words. So I came up with, who do you love? What motivates you? What makes you happy? What do you love to do? How do you get better at what you love to do? Because most of the kids, they'll tell you that, you know, soccer is the most important thing in their life. Okay, so if that's your passion, if soccer is your passion, what do you do to get better at it? And what purpose? What do you do for others? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? So that's what they had to make, those 6 words. And so I did, you know, I did passionate, reliable, flexible, consistent, lifelong learner. I give them several different examples, and I show them this Amy Schmittauer video as well. If they're stuck, this is like, I put this onto Google Classroom that they could just look at themselves, or now I put it on Schoology. So that they can just watch that and get some other ideas of how to go on and make their personal brand. I don't know if anybody knows her. The kids are real familiar with her. She's a very famous YouTuber for kids.
Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of RobertoBlake.com, helping you create something awesome today. Welcome to another Saturday Small Business and Social Media video. Today we are going to talk about personal branding, something you know I am a huge advocate for. I really believe that personal branding really adds up to personal power and your ability to create credibility, authenticity, authority, and trust. But with that said, I want to bring on a great friend of mine, Amy Schmittauer from Savvy Sex and Social, and she's going to help us figure out the 5 steps to defining our own unique personal brand. Also, make sure you watch this video to the end because we will actually have a special Amazon gift card giveaway, and if you want the details, you will have to watch the whole
So they're
thing.
learning a lot.
Hi, I'm Amy Schmittauer from the Savvy Sexy Social channel, and these are 5 steps to defining your personal brand. Get ready. Number 1, identify what gets you happy or excited. This can be anything from passions to your values, but when you're building out your personal brand, it's going to have a lot to do with you personally. So you have to believe in whatever it is that you want to talk about or get your message out about. Even if there are people out there that are doing something pretty cool that you think you want to do, make sure you truly care about it first. Number 2, think about your strengths and weaknesses. Talk to your family and friends. Ask them about you. It's better to know these things going in, especially your weaknesses, but definitely your strengths, because you need to go all in on those strengths and not worry about trying to perfect the weaknesses that are probably never going to be something you should focus your time on. Go in on what you're great at and listen to that feedback from people who are close to you, and you will be so much further ahead, even at the beginning. Number 3, know how you help people. It doesn't matter who you are or what you talk about if you don't help people in some way, whether it's with delivering information or just being funny and offering comedic relief. It doesn't matter. You have to define what that is, because if you don't help people, you got nothing. Number 4, identify what differentiates you. You don't always have to be first, but you definitely have to be better. And no matter what, there is no competition except for you against you. So knowing how you are going to have an upper hand, no matter what the case may be, is going to be the best way to present yourself every time. The confidence in why you're the best is the only thing that is ever going to matter. And number 5, create your vision statement. It's so hard to stay focused these days with the wonderful world of all access, everything that we have, and sometimes when we make a decision, we want to go in one direction and something else will pull us away. But if nothing else, you must write down what your vision statement is so that you can stay very clear on why you do what you do at any point in time, so that if it doesn't fit within that statement, it's a no. Get clear on your vision, get even clearer on your mission and how you help people, and you will have an amazing personal brand.
So define what gets you happy, what are your strengths, define how you help people, identify what differentiates you, and create a vision statement. So this was one of the kids' personal brands. She lived on an egg farm that they had chickens, and so that was what she put in the middle. I thought it was very interesting that she defined it herself by her family's business. Okay, so what we did then was we took our 6 words. Everybody had to come up with 6 words. When I had the classes that I could teach for a solid month, because I only saw them once every 6 days, we did a lot of soul searching in order to come up with our 6 words. When I only had the classes for two periods, we skipped to the 6 words first, okay? But the 6 words then had to be turned into symbols. They used Tinkercad, and I use Tinkercad because my 6th graders are still under 13. Some of my 7th graders are still under 13. Tinkercad has a way for you to give your students, you sign up as a teacher, and then with their school emails, when it says sign up with your parents' email, you sign up with their school email, then you give them a teacher code. You get a code and they can use Tinkercad, but you have to make sure that they write down their username and password, because there's no way to retrieve that. You cannot retrieve that for them. So they have to remember their username and password. So they went onto Tinkercad and they designed a symbol. My rules were it had to include your name somehow or your initials. It had to have at least one initial of either your first name or your last name. So there had to be one letter. And that was all I said, okay? There's symbols for different things. This one is one of my favorite ones. Is one of my neighbors actually, Megan. She totally defined herself, but when she made the project, so they're learning the design process as they're going through this too, because the first time we printed her logo, it fell apart. Totally, everything fell off because she didn't have a solid base on it. So we went and we redesigned it. So the 6 words had to be represented by 6 symbols that they could use anything in Tinkercad. I didn't want them to download pictures off the internet or download things off the internet. We only used what was within Tinkercad. And then they had to remember their design, explain their design. They had to reflect on what their design meant to them, and they had to reflect on what they learned. Now, in my new school district, we have a way for students to upload their STL files right to me, and then I print them. Hold on for 1 second, and I will. Well, we're almost finished with the slides, and then I'll show you it in person. Okay. The lesson, I call this square peg and round hole, because we're all square pegs in a round hole. And they already have a personal brand, whether they know it or not. And they're all different and they're all unique. And we celebrate that through our logos. One of the first lessons I did was I showed them all different logos. And they had, we did a Kahoot. And we learned what the different logos, like, we didn't learn what they were. We had to say what were the logos. Like, I would put Mazda up there, and they would have to guess which one it was. We would put Nike up there. Everyone got that one. Everybody knew that one. And then we went through and we found some, because I'm in a library, we had to look for Harry Potter logos. So you'll see there's a few logos from Hogwarts and the different houses of Hogwarts printed as well. And we did all this hard work of the square peg and round hole. To get kids to think about themselves is not easy. And this was one of the hardest lessons that I did all year, and I did not realize it would be so difficult, because I thought that they would just like do it and like not even think about it, but they really were serious about it, and I was amazed at how serious they were, because the carrot was out there. They wanted to print that personal logo. So personal branding about them, because they don't like to think about themselves, was what led me to getting kids to talk to one another about their personal brand. So after we printed their logos, we put them onto the shelves in the library, and kids had to stand by their logo. And one class, like I did in teams, so one team would be standing by their logos, and other people would be walking around asking them questions about it. And then we switched. The other team came in and told about their personal logos and what they represented. The kids learned more from that part of it than they did by doing all the hard work that I thought, they would just slough off. But by hearing what other people's logos meant, they learned a whole bunch of, they had the metacognition then of what they learned from this lesson. And the template for is a Google Doc, and you can just click on that and it will open, and feel free to use it. So this was my little micro 3D, which is no longer in business right now. So that's all I have for that, but I wanted to show you it freaked me out when I saw that Barack Obama thing. So this is how our students, they put their requests in here. They upload it right here to us. I think I already printed this one, but maybe not. But I just take them and I print them. They have to fill out a form first. Let me see if I can grab that one. So in our district, our students are allowed to print 3 personal items. Now, we don't just use it for this one lesson. This item, in their tech ed class, they have to design a game, but they can the game pieces can be 3D printed. So they design a board game. So that's just one of the things we do. The other thing that we do is we have a Shark Tank, and the kids can 3D print their prototypes. So I'm excited because that's coming up shortly, and they do their pitches in the library. So it's always a fun time when they're pitching their designs. We are going to add one of the things they do to learn the design process is they do what we call the 5 chairs. Now they take the Simpson family, 5 members of the Simpson family. They work in groups of 5, and each of them has to design 5 chairs for one of the members of the Simpson family. So when they're done, they have 35 chairs, and they make 1 out of pipe cleaners, 1 out of cardboard, 1 they 3D print, 1 out of clay, and did I say pipe cleaners? 1 out of, there's another, just cardstock, regular card, no, popsicle sticks. Another one is popsicle sticks. So they have to make all these chairs for their one character, but they have to do it in groups. So, what else? And in order for me to know that they're putting a file up here, we have a Google Doc, and it asks them their name, their teacher, and this is my file, and this is how I know what's on deck and this one is the last one I printed, the second to the last one I printed, the orange ones. If it's in pink, they already have their designs with them. If it's in orange, I'm waiting for them to pick it up. But they fill out the Google form and they tell me what color they want me to print it, but they don't actually do the printing. Because that's not what it's about. It's all about the design process. It's all about using the tools that you have. Now, I'm not saying that they're not allowed to print by the time they get to 8th grade. 6th graders are not allowed to use the printer. But by the time they get to 8th grade, once they're all familiar with doing everything, then we do have an after school, they can come in and use the 3D printer, and we leave it printing overnight then. Okay. Any questions? Let's see what else I have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, please come. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I can show you. All these yellow ones are the Harry Potter ones that we printed, but those are not the fun ones. We created this logo. We created for our WISP Pals. It is a group that we have. This is one of my students. His favorite thing in the world is his Xbox One. This one girl, she makes chocolate chip cookies and sells them in school. So she actually was able to use this one. This is my absolute favorite one. This is the one that I have several different versions of, and the one that fell apart I don't have. But this girl knows who she is. Definitely, she did the most. This is interesting. This I can show you. This one has several different iterations. Okay, this is the final one. This is the first one that he handed in. This one was the second one, and then this is his third iteration. It actually, because he didn't have his name on it or anything, but he is going to his whole goal in life is to build bridges, and so that thing he did in the middle, that was amazing to me. This kid has his own YouTube show.
You're good. Thank you. Sure.
As we were going on, I learned different things. When they were trying to do their logos, one of the rules I had was they had to put a base on it because everything was falling apart. And like this was all new to me, so.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, please.
How many kids do you teach at a time? Not in a class, like total in all your classes combined that are doing this?
800.
Okay, so how long? So now that's why I wanted to ask. How are you literally printing then?
24/7.
Okay.
Yeah, when we do this lesson, we print 24/7.
And how long does that still take? I mean, it's awesome that you get
everything to print. It probably took me about 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. Shark Tank is much worse.
Okay.
I'm going to be printing for the next 2 months with Shark Tank. Because we only have one printer. We're trying to get another one.
No, that's part of the hardship.
Mm-hmm.
Is Shark Tank a project
They have to come up with this one is neat because she tried to put a QR code on it. QR codes do not 3D print well. Shark Tank is they have to come up with an original product. It's just like Shark Tank on TV. Right. They have to come up with an original product, how it would benefit people. There's a whole package that they have to go through and answer all the questions, and then they can 3D print their code. I don't have that, but I will put that on the page.
Yeah, you couldn't do a logo t-shirt, you know, you print and try to make something functional. So yeah, that would be really awesome.
And something like this, like
An hour, 2 hours, 4 hours.
That one actually was created.
Yeah.
That took it out.
I think every classroom has that to do with it.
But on the bigger ones. And
That's how
what I found, which I don't know who has liquor bots, but we were having problems trying to do more than one thing. So it's easier for me to just do one at a time and have it come out than.
So you give them like size constraints?
These are your Harry Potter.
Sometimes I do, I'm not allowed to on Shark Tank, if it has to be.
Okay, great.
So that's why there's some different those, and that's only one class.
Mhm.
Like with this group logo, I usually do this with the whole,
Mike.
with sixth grade. But, in Tech Ed, when they do the Shark Tank, they only have it for one semester. So I'm only doing half of grade
You should see
six
some of the
and half
Harry
grade
Potter
seven
ones.
at one time. So, but that's what takes longer. What are they doing?
Our gifted students, they do a gifted fair, and they're all gonna print, like, my son's doing a thing on the Megalodon, so we're gonna print on the Megalodon too for everyone.
Very
I
cool.
printed some little wee sea creature the other day, I don't even know what it is. Girl's doing a thing on sea creatures, and this little wee thing.
We actually were printing a lot of stuff for the Lego First Robotics. The kids had, the theme was space, so they had to like redo the International Space Station. So we had a model of the regular space station, and then they manipulated it in Tinkercad, and then they 3D printed it so that they could take it to the judge and show them. Oh, and this girl, Olivia, sells slime at school. So this is her logo, Olivia's original slime.
How much was your 3D printer?
I don't know because it, the one I got for the first school that I was in, we paid $6,000 for 2 MakerBots because we got a special deal through ESDAC in Kansas. They are like it's like our IUs, but they get really good deals. So I got a grant, and then it was $6,000, and we got 2 printers for $6,000. And it came with a digital scanner, but the MakerBot digital scanner never got off the ground very well. It doesn't work well. But I was telling her that you can get it connects, and you can make a digital scanner out of it, Connect. With there's I forget what I think it's called a Connect X. If you look for Connects and digital scanner, there's a free software out there that you can use that turns your Connects into a 3D scanner.
Are you familiar with the website Monoprice?
No.
So there's website Monoprice. They sell a bunch of different things. They recently started selling 3D printers in like the $300-400 range, which is very affordable. We did get a few in, and they do a nice job printing. So if you're looking to get started and don't have a substantial budget to do it, the Monoprice printers are a good starting point, or even if you want to do it at home too.
Yeah, they're very good. I looked at those. Actually, I went to a Den event, and an educator from Iowa brought 3 of them, and we had them going the whole time that we were there.
Yeah.
And they, and she even figured out ways to fix them, which was great.
Oh, wow.
So she has like a website that you can go, and if this happens on your build plate, click here and troubleshoot them. But I don't have one of those. I had one of the original printer bots.
We have a printer bot and a maker bot, and then we expanded, and they wanted to get more because of the 24/7 thing, so that we could do printing. So we tried out the Monoprice ones at the price, and it's not as detailed or as clean, but for most cases, for kids, what they're doing, if they're just designing and want to print, it does a great job. And then if you have kids that want to have that level of detail, then we're using the MakerBot.
The MakerBot, yeah. Yeah, our MakerBot was having very severe problems. Like the bed would not level for anything, and it took me the pretty much the whole month of September to get it all straightened around, and now I don't let anybody else touch it because they had the bottom wheels off, the leveling mechanisms. I'm like, don't take them off anymore. So I have the micro 3D printer. The first time I saw that was at the Maker Faire, and people were just carrying them around. I actually have one in my room, but because I was going to bring a suitcase up here, but then with the snow, I didn't bring it. But if you decide to go that way, just know they don't work with Macs anymore. They worked with my Mac fine, but when the iOS updated, they just are refusing to update their software. So I went out and bought a cheap little PC, and because they wouldn't let me put the stuff on my school one, so I bought a little cheap ThinkPad.
Do you have any apps you recommend for iPad for doing 3D design?
I like there is one. It's called Morphe. On Morphe.
I'm not sure.
I think that's the one.
Okay.
Let me check my iPad. There's a couple of them that are kind of cool for kids. I don't have any iPads in my new building, so we don't use. But everybody's one-to-one with PCs, so we don't have. Doing QR codes is a real hardship. It's MORPHI, I believe. That's the one that's really good. The MakerBot, yeah, MORPHI. This is it right here. And there's Tinkerplay too. Morphe.
Okay.
Yeah, Morphe and Tinkerplay.
Okay.
Are you wireless? So can you wirelessly go to 3D printer?
We haven't bought one yet because part of my, not in my building,
The high school.
in the high school we do.
The high school we have a network, and we're doing it through like you do. The students submit an STL file to the teacher, and they're doing it for.
Oh, very cool.
So we kind of haven't. It's been something that's been pushed to us, and I haven't done it because I'm like, my son is 12, and when he did 3D printing his like up around like 5-6 building, he got annoyed.
That's what I used to be 5-6.
Well, and he got annoyed because we did this cool project, and then the teacher picked 6. Like they singularly picked 6 to print.
Thank you.
And and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And he came home and he was absolutely devastated, and I was like, this is why I can't do 3D printing. This is why I can't do 3D printing. Like, I can't have one
Janice, this is
print.
Oh, thank you. I felt like I was boring you guys.
No, I'm sitting here sending stuff to our STEAM lab people. I'm like, oh my god, and look at this. And I would love to open our school year with because I always do the 6-word memoir.
Oh, perfect.
And now I'm just like,
well, see, I don't remember I think the 6 words from there. But also, Discovery has their spotlight on strategy that is the 6 words. So, like, you can do something like this for any lesson that you teach. Have them do 6 words, and then you can have them go on Tinkercad.
And I sneaked up there and I took pictures of like the family crests because I always do one of those on paper with my kids for their 6
Oh,
words.
what a great idea!
And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. I have your card.
Oh, good.
One of the first things we do so that the kids can like understand it, so that they can use it
No,
for the
yeah.
project.
Yeah.
We do get a size constraint too because of that.
Oh, it's in the blue one. Like, yeah, it has to be this size.
That's good. At least they know realistic.
On an iPad. When did Tinkercad actually add in the parent email thing?
Well,
That
that
was-
was actually this year.
Well, okay.
That really got me irritated.
We looked at
but
it last year, and that was the main reason that we didn't even pursue Tinkercad was because of the privacy laws with under 13. It was like you could create an account, but
3 years ago.
the district solicitor basically said no because
Yeah.
there was no approval process. So I just saw that now.
It was before I was actually able to do the teacher accounts without putting an email in for the kids. And that worked out really well. But this year, now they were asking for that email.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
by
awesome.
using their student email, it works. But like for your kids in the high school, they don't need to do that.
No.
You know.
No, my kids do.
I wish they would tie to Google like everyone else.
You guys have like a
Well,
Google-
I know, but see,
We
we're
are
not.
iPad.
We're a Microsoft
That's
school.
Are you really? Okay.
Yeah, and so that. I mean, I came from a Google school, and now I'm in a Microsoft school. It is. I feel like my hands are
I
tied.
use
Yeah.
often Tinkercad, Google's 3D view.
Okay.
It's almost identical, but it's a
Alright.
Google like app.
And we use
for things.
Tinkercad because we have one printer in our, but it's used very, like the teacher who she took a grad class got it. Like I mainly pushed in with her and kind of helped her out. But 3 years ago, Tinkercad changed their privacies. I was like, we gotta stop with these are. It doesn't protect us. So I called him and he was like, I gotta ask. I was like, wow. And they were like, nope.
Yeah, so that was a big thing with us with Scratch a couple years ago.
Everyone's cracking down.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what-
everyone wants an online account.
where
Yep,
we
so things
start.
going
So
crazy.
we have a whole class
We
on
deal
that
with so much
before they
legal
start
stuff.
doing this.
Can you really do
So,
this? Can you not? That was one of the big pushes for us. We used to have Office 365.
Okay.
We switched everything to Google now.
Yeah.
Based on usability
Yeah.
for the kids and everyone, but also we started to add a Google.
Well, yeah, you can
Yeah,
sign
single
in
sign
through
on Google.
Google.
Sign on Google, and you know, we're up
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
Well, thanks. It was nice talking to you. It was helpful.
Of course, Google. Yeah, I'm getting ready to do
I gotta
this
go
again
present.
with my sixth graders that are in the iSkills class. We had one round already in the beginning of the year. So
I know, that's what we
now
said
they're
too.
in semester, so there's a whole group of kids doing iSkills now. So
Wish our
Yeah,
librarian
thank
was
you.
here.
I appreciate it.
that. I wish we had a librarian like her who was supportive and changing. Not
well, I have to admit that I didn't become a librarian until later in life because I had to wait for the. There was no way I was doing card catalogs.
Yes.
So when I helped my kids' elementary librarian automate, and when I did that, I was like, now I can be a librarian.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. That was
Thank
very
you.
helpful,
That's
and
great.
your examples were great. I think I can wrap my head around the feasibility. So,
All right, good.
Thank you so
That's
much.
what I want to do. Get it out there.
absolutely.
I really like the idea of tying branding into digital citizenship. I never considered doing the two things together. The
Yeah.
tying way is I layer everything.
Yeah, exactly.
The
But
only way to get in the full gamut of what the curriculum needs to cover is to cover three things in one activity.
exactly. Yep. And that's what I was facing when I had all those classes all the time.
Yes.
Okay, good job.
Dennis, if you need help, I will help you set up because they showed me. But I will help you.
It should be okay, but I don't think it'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna bring stuff so I could demonstrate, closed captioning. I'll see.
Doing this as a poster session at Disney.
see what I can do without, because I have a rig that allows me to be plugged in and it to be plugged out at the same time. Let's see how much of a
Yeah, and you might have to, I had to turn my Wi-Fi off in order to use the
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
hardwire.